have some awesome individuals on the call right now looking to learn from you. I did, before you guys kick it off, wanted to ask Rodney to talk briefly just about stock market investing, how it's a lower startup cost and/or investment if you are looking to grow your wealth over the next 3 to 5 years, maybe max 10 years, because that's typically how initial public offerings work. So anybody who missed out on the Amazon IPO as an example, if you kept dollar cost averaging and building up your share count, like 10,000 shares is typically the magic number for us, where once that share price hits $100, 10,000 shares equals $1 million. So the stock market has been volatile, but we do want to speak to the fact that investing in IPOs is still a great play if you don't necessarily have the investment to make as an Airbnb ambassador or property owner. But you guys have been killing it, and I think everyone needs to hear your story.
Yeah, I would definitely, and hello to both of you all. And it's definitely a conversation we're looking at having, because we tell everybody diversification is key in just building wealth. And whether it's through the combination of the stock market, the combination of real estate, life insurance, all these different, this whole triangle, this just assists individuals in building wealth. So really, really looking forward to the conversation, especially about Airbnb with an IPO in December 2020 and having an initial IPO price of $68, skyrocketing to $219, then dropping. And right now it's at $173.
But let me stop you for a second. So if you had $10,000 at the time, or let's just use easy math since Rodney mentioned that it IPO'd at $68. If you had $6,800, you had 100 shares of Airbnb. And he mentioned that it rose to over $200.
Right, so that's a 223% increase, which
exactly.
is substantial. Very, very substantial increase. And it's a great company, but with any IPO, there's going to be volatility. But as long as you believe in that company, you can stay with that company, or you can go out, and you can understand when it's going to be, have that volatility. And you can either, if you're a long-term investor, you can stay in for the entire longevity, 5 to 10 years. Or if you just want to track it, you can potentially exit the company with always looking for an opportunity to re-enter the company down the road. So that's what we say. It's just all about the diversification of it. From everything, they had a great Road had a great quarter, had a great year in 2021, Airbnb being the case. We're looking, when I was just amazed at how people are staying in Airbnbs now, how they're moving away from the Marriotts, the Hiltons. They're moving away, and people are staying in Airbnbs. I think I heard over half the reservations in fourth quarter were for 7 days or longer. And then they looked over, and every 1 out of 5 days, people were staying for longer than a month, which is amazing to me. I can't even fathom that. I mean, I'm thinking we on vacation or staying in a hotel for 3 or 4 days, but people are staying 7, like a week, a month. And I think part of it's probably because of the pandemic. People are working from home more. They have that flexibility and just lifestyle changes. So go ahead.
And for those of you who have joined, Airbnb is actually in our IPO playbook. So we appreciate you joining. If you wanted a free stock pick or a free IPO, Airbnb is definitely in there. If you want to purchase the IPO playbook, just head over to browninvestors.shop, and it includes just a handful of IPOs that we feel can help you build some pretty strong wealth in the next 3 to 5 years. Because Rodney made a really good point when he spoke about just the past earnings call, in that I want you to be very, very strategic about your investments, in that the share price is not always reflected in the stock market. And all of us are intelligent enough to know that if a company's earnings are growing, if their profit is growing, if their losses are being minimized, you might just have your next Amazon. So if you like Airbnb at $100, you like it again when it drops to $70. Or if it goes to $200 and you are reinvesting in Airbnb to build up to that 10,000 shares that we mentioned earlier, because 10,000 shares, again, is your magic number to $1 million. Because once that stock price hits 100, 10,000 times 100 is 1,000,000. So if you keep building your Airbnb stock market shares, you could easily have millions of dollars if you are patient to wait on the IPO trend, because that's typically how IPOs play out.
Very, very true. So it's definitely a great, good investment. Definitely a company to put on, if you're not investing in it right now, to have on your watch list to look for a good buying opportunity. But with that being said, I'm looking to get into this conversation so that you all can share this knowledge of how you all are killing the game and building this Airbnb empire. And I just want you all to share your story so the individuals can learn from it. And for those who are in the Airbnb or working with Airbnbs or have Airbnbs right now, they can maybe tweak some things to perform better. And for those who are looking to get into this business, they can learn some ways in regards to whether be partnering with YouTube or just gaining some knowledge so that they can just get into the industry, period. So with that being said, if you all can tell us about your journey, we can all just sit here and just listen and soak up this knowledge.
Absolutely. So like I said, I'm Lucinda and this is Dominic. So the name of our company is LuDom Properties. And I always like to give the joke that dumb Lou just didn't sound as cute as LuDom. So that's how we came up with our name. But I'll let Dominic kind of kick off, how we started, and we'll go from there.
So Lucinda and I had a tough decision to make in 2021. We wanted to sell our house. The housing market was booming at the time. We had offers $50,000 over the asking price. Sounds great. But when we got the offers and we signed the paper on one contract, we realized that we were giving away our home for pennies. And I couldn't do it. So we backed out. And we decided that instead of selling our house to an investor overseas, we would do Airbnb and do it ourselves because they were going to do the same thing with our house. So we started that journey in April of last year.
Yes.
And
what number are we on?
April of this year, we have 7 Airbnbs.
I got it right before you guys joined. I said Lucinda and Dominic have 7 properties, and that is just like insane. Like, you guys are crushing it.
So the goal is to have 10 by July. We're making progress, and the long-term goal is to have 20 by July of 2023. Mm-hmm. So I think we're on target.
We're coasting. But something you said, Rodney, I wanted to kind of piggyback on is when you were talking about why people choose Airbnb over hotels. Right. And it is because it's almost like leaving your home, going to another home. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So if you're taking 15 family members out of town and you guys decide to stay at the Marriott, you guys are going to spend so much money and you're not going to feel like you're there as a family. Whereas when you do an Airbnb, like for instance, our largest one is 7-bedroom, 3.5 bath. So we get everything. We get weddings, we get family reunions, we even have reunion, we get bridal showers, we get what do you guys have? When they're getting married, the bachelor parties, like we get all of that stuff. And it's cool because everyone can stay in the same place, they can cook. So they end up actually, it's like it feels like they're spending more money, but they aren't spending as much money because they're all going in on this one property versus everyone getting their own apartment. So what we're offering is something like fantastic. You have people from all these different states coming to one place and they actually get to live amongst each other for 5 to 6 days. And for us, one weekend could be $2,500. That sounds like a lot, but if you've got 16 people and they're all dividing that cost up, it's really not that expensive to then be able to wake up in the morning, fix breakfast, cook out and not have to, dine every day. There's just so many perks to what we do. And most people are staying in Airbnb. So why not feel that you have what it takes to actually have your own Airbnb?
Nice. Right. So the Airbnb market, just to piggyback off what Rodney said also, guys, before we get into the details, the Airbnb is not brand new, but it's not going anywhere. It's growing and growing and growing. They have projected, and I project also, in the next 20 to 25 years, hotels will be down to 10% of what you see. All right. Everybody who travels, Lucinda and I, the first thing we do, we don't say, can we get a hotel room? It's, can we get an Airbnb somewhere? All right. So Airbnb asked Lucinda and I to be ambassadors for them and to bring on other hosts to start up Airbnbs. They want people. There are so much opportunity out there to be a Airbnb host. So they want to keep growing. Hilton and Marriott are now starting to develop their own platform similar to Airbnb because they see the writing on the wall. All right. Hotels would not exist in the next 20 or 25 years. So you all remember when Uber came out and everybody dropped the ball on that because it was something brand new. Well, Airbnb came out about, 8 years ago? It's still a great opportunity to invest in Airbnb like it was out yesterday because it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow, and it's going to push all of those corporations out of business. And the stock for Airbnb is going to continue to go up and up and up.
So the whole
we love the Airbnb stock. We have it in our personal portfolios because we're patient. Sometimes investors aren't patient enough for a stock to continue to rise, but I know Rodney and I kind of dibbled and dabbled a little bit in the path to pursue Airbnb. We're still on that path, but we do want you to bring up some points of one, how to get started, but also I think with anything, when people want to make money, whether it's $100,000, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, whatever, like we don't know your pockets, there's still work involved. And I completely admire both of you because you two are the team of no excuses. You're married like us. You have kids. And you are out there killing it. So I think that in itself speaks volumes that if anybody wants to venture into this space, they very well can, but you better have that hustle to you and you better be willing to work.
Yes.
And I know I've probably been the one holding us back because I'm like, I don't want anything else on our plate right now. Give us another year. Brown Investors is still in the first 3 to 5 years of growing. So, it's about picking and choosing where you put your money, invest your money.
But I will say that before you all talk about all the work that's involved with it, because I know it's a great deal of work and you all are doing a great job with it. I don't want something to be passed over. You all mentioned weddings, having weddings at your Airbnbs. And I think many of us, when we think about Airbnbs, we think about going somewhere, staying with our family, having a good experience. But we don't think about people having actual events, minus the bachelor parties or the bridal parties, but having an actual wedding. How did that come about? How did you all create a place where people would actually come to get married at? I never thought about people getting married at an actual house. I was just wondering, how did that come about? Because to me, that's just another reason for people to come to you all's location by the fact that they can get married there. So how did that come about?
So being 100% transparent, I know my husband mentioned it in our last seminar, is our marriage went through a lot. Like our marriage literally almost failed. Like we had literally filed for divorce. We were done with each other. And I was like, I was done. My husband was just like, no, like we're not doing this. Like, no. But anyway, once we kind of, got ourselves together and figured out that this is exactly what we wanted and God was not happy with us. I know we're supposed to be together. And once we kind of started following the path of marriage and being one in this family, things started to fall in place. And we just started to realize that like so many people don't fight for marriage. And it kind of became like our mission to make sure that we created a place where people could come and become one. We also have a prayer box in our first one as well. And we decided that, let this be like a place of almost a tabernacle where people can come in and they can restore marriage or they can even start marriage. So my husband decided to build a gazebo. And then after he built the gazebo and I was like, oh my God, this is too expensive. Then the next thing I know, I came home and there was a contractor building stairs. And that's kind of how it got started. And once he started to post the pictures and we mentioned that, weddings were an option. And we had our first wedding and that actually gave us images. People just started booking. Everyone doesn't want a wedding of 200 people. Some people like intimate weddings, 30 to 40 people. And this house has been somewhere we've lived for over 12 years. We've raised our kids there. When you come through the door, we've got our gospel music playing. Like you can tell that this is a place of love and peace. And us being just faithful and following what we know God intended for us to do, that home itself makes between $8,000 and $10,000 a month. And I know it's because we are doing what we're intended to do.
Yes, I think you're making a good point, Lucinda, just about the experience overall. So I did, give a little teaser about you before we started. And we do have some questions. So we're going to give you guys a couple more minutes before we start answering some questions. But you guys have done a very exceptional job, I think, because I looked at all your Airbnbs. I'm actually planning to book a couple for my daughter's wedding or our daughter's wedding next year. But I think the marketing mindset has been instrumental in how well you've done. And I think as a mentor to others, since that's part of the model of what you guys do, is what helps drive the revenue, because anyone can, if they have the capital and or the approvals to finance, they can, get an Airbnb. But not everyone or not every single Airbnb does well. And I think before we start answering questions, I think you should give at least the top 3 things that you look for. Like, we know location is one. Why would I choose LuDom Properties? Like, one, I know you guys personally, but 2, I love the experience that even if I did know you online, like, of course I'd stay at the Southern City Farmhouse. Like, I'm a Southern girl. Why not? And then there's another one where there's jazz playing. Like, you two together have made the magic happen that I think you can, shorten that kind of like learning phase for others if they decide to go under your mentorship and, really ramp up their Airbnbs.
Awesome. So I'm glad you said that, Kim. Airbnb is an experience. That's all it is. People book Airbnb just for that experience. When they travel, they want to go and do something different from what they're doing at home. So Lucinda and I go the extra mile. We create these different type of scenarios or different types of things with the wine we leave behind and the jazz music playing and a place to get married at. And we just try to be creative with it. And not only do we try to be creative with our guests, but we try to be creative with the platform that we choose as well. There's Airbnb, there's VRBO, there's Booking.com. Now we have also branched out into, we have a contract with an insurance agency where we go in and take misplaced families and we charge them the Airbnb rate for our 3-bedroom in the woods. We charge them the $200 a night, but they don't do it through Airbnb. They do it through their own platform. So we have a 3-bedroom in the woods that we charge $200 a night, which is $6,000 a month for a family to live in, fully furnished. You got washer and dryer and everything they need, and they're going to be there for 10 months.
Wow.
Nice.
So it's all about trying to create different type of avenues, not just Airbnb, but try to reach out to every platform that you can to make sure you generate money on a consistent basis. So that's what we do. We try to think outside the box.
So what we
I
say?
love that. So I do have one question, because I don't want to spill all the beans, because I know that part of how you two are also scaling your profitability is teaching others to do that. So well deserved. Like, you have knowledge that can save people a lot of money. I do want you to talk a little bit about time, because I remember when I was talking to you guys, I was like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, don't put anything else on my plate. How many hours are you guys working? So, I think you do need to, share a little bit in terms of, you guys went from 0 to 7 in a year. And people always look at other success as, oh my gosh. But I think it's very important to know that the two of you are not an overnight success, but you are, because it's like very short amount of time.
Right.
But you put the work in. You really put the work in. I mean, the sacrifice that I've seen from, a village raises a child, where we've taken your daughter to coding or like offered to do that. Like, I think all of that stuff kind of like comes into play. If you don't have those responsibilities, then go, do it all. But I admire the fact that you guys recognize the business side of things, and that in order to hit the very aggressive goals that you guys have set, you have laid out, okay, These are the timelines. This is what may have to give in a very short period of time, but we're going to go get it. And that's exactly what you guys did. Like, you went and you got it.
Mm-hmm.
And you made the 100K on like one property. So, you know, job well done.
Thank you.
I have a crown for both of you.
Thank you. I always tell Dominic, you know, when we started, I said, are we going to knock on doors or are we going to knock doors down? And he said, we're going to knock doors down. So that's the plan. We want to knock doors down so that those that we have the opportunity to get through some of the barriers, you know, faster than we did, and some of the L's that we took, they won't have to take because we've already figured those things out on the front end. And that's the best part about the membership. The other thing we do too, we're actually opening up 5 slots so that people that want Airbnb, but they don't want to do the work, they just say, hey, I have this property, I want to furnish it, but I want to be hands off. We actually offer that. We do everything, and you only give us 20%, and you're making your money without having to go through the headache of, you know, the Airbnb day to day. I actually still have my regular job. Dominic is actually your contractor. So he's the one that's, you know, doing so much of the work every day. Like, God bless his soul. But it is a lot of work, and I'm not going to pretend that is little Zoe. That's our other job back there. But it's not easy. It does take sacrifice, and it takes a commitment, right? You don't want to jump out here. You start spending money, and then you have one bad experience, and then you're out of the game. Like, you can't have that mindset. It has to be something that you want to do and something that you're willing to lose a little sleep for, but it pays off. And that's the reason we've gone so hard, because we see that it pays off.
I think I love how you said you still have a full-time job. So I think one of the missteps that is made early on in entrepreneurship is that, you know, there's a certain amount of capital that a full-time entrepreneur may have, and they may take the leap. But what happens if there's like a bad year or a bad 2 years or a bad 3 years? I think that you guys are going about it the right way, in that you are saying, okay, I got my full-time job, I've mastered it. I've got my husband who can work the other side of this empire that we are creating. And as long as my full-time job is good and it's not interfering with us continuing to scale, why not have both? So I love that mindset. And it's like the ball's in your court. You're like, I don't need you 9 to 5, or I don't need you full-time job. But guess what? You've been all right to me, so I'm just going to stay the course with you while I continue to build another 10 more properties with Airbnb. And if I get to 20 by the end of next year and you're still good to me, I'm going to continue to stay the course. Like, why not? Like, I'm not going to fix what's not broken.
Yes.
You know?
That's what it is.
So about time, and I remember when we had the seminar back in November, and Kim, you was like, I just don't know if we got time to do that.
I'm not doing it. My 2 kids are crazy.
When you said that, I was like, well, I don't think she understands. She got time. But as we continue to open location after location, you were absolutely right. It is a lot of work. So I don't want anybody to think that this is just so easy. You know, it would be naive of me to tell you that. It's a lot of work, but it pays off, because you can be sleeping at night and wake up and realize you got 4 bookings for $6,000, you know, for different, you know, weeks of the month. But it is a lot of work.
And I'll tell anyone who's listening right now, and anyone who will listen to the recording, that we've seen all the bookings. We've seen all the receipts. Right. So what they're saying is fact. Like, we wouldn't, you know, be partnering to share this information with you if it wasn't fact. But their whole calendar across their properties have been booked back to back. And I think the both of you are great business people, because you've gone the right path. You've chosen the right locations. You've selected the right experience. And the other big piece has been the customer service. Like, both of you are hospitable. And while you may have not necessarily had great guests all the time, your customer service back to them of being very, very nice has gotten you the 5-star reviews, because you're in the people business. Right.
Yeah. Right. I think our background too. So my background is actually property management, and I did property management for over 14 years. And then we also have corporate backgrounds as well. So, you know, everything that you learn in business, even on someone else's job, like we realized that we can apply so much of that to what we do. And I think that alone has simplified the process of what we do as well. I did see someone mention like automating things. Automating things work when people are checking in or checking out, but now when someone says the toilet on the second floor isn't working, someone's got to figure that out, right? And I can't act like I didn't get the message. It's not like an apartment where you're like, oh, well, you've got 2 bathrooms, so we'll see you tomorrow when we open. It's like, no, they want it right then. So what we do is, you know, because of Dominic's background, we have so many people that specialize in plumbing and electrical and, you know, all of those things. And it makes it so much easier for us to get someone out, you know, on site. So automation is fantastic, but some things you run into, automation isn't going to do anything for you. You got to get someone out there.
Yeah, so Lucinda, I think you two are getting a lot of love. One, yes, you are in Atlanta. Yes. I don't know how much information you want to give away when it comes to scaling, just because I know you guys have like a consultation fee if somebody doesn't come out of the mentorship. So the first question that Rodney and I will have is, one, how can our audience today get in touch with both of you? Would you rather them email admin@browninvestors.com and we provide them with the information, or would you rather them reach out directly to LuDom Properties?
They can actually do both. They have questions for you before reaching out to us. But our email is LuDom Properties, and it's LUDOM Properties with an S @gmail.com. And that will get you to our inbox, and we'll reach out to you. I always say within 24 hours. And we'll actually set up a consultation with you. We'll, you know, get you on our calendar, and then we'll figure out, you know, what you have going on and how we can best help you with the process. So it's that easy. We want serious people.
So we have another question about, I know Anna Greta, I believe she asked, how did you guys scale from 1 to 7 so quickly? Specifically, she asked about financing. I don't know if you do that as a part of your consultation, because I know that's like valuable information. I know I don't always give away information for free. So I love you guys, but it just, you know.
So this is what I'll say. We have a way for you to not affect your income to debt ratio to get the homes that you need in order to be successful in this process. So everyone's starting from a different place. Like, for instance, we decided to risk our home to start this journey. We have some people that we are mentoring that have a home that they aren't using. Maybe they were doing a landlord-tenant thing. We have someone that we just helped out. It took them a month. We gave them all of our suggestions, went to see their home, and they opened up 3 weeks ago. In their first week, they had 6
bookings, and now they got
6 bookings, y'all.
As of yesterday, they got 17 bookings, and they haven't.
And they're charging what, $300-400 a night?
Yes. They're charging right around $300 a night. They're out in Covington, Georgia, also. So that tells you that you can put an Airbnb anywhere, and people are.
Yes.
If you build it, they're coming.
That's really what it is. I mean, we have a lady in South Carolina in a city we'd never heard of, and we went out, got her started, and within 2 weeks she had her first booking, and she's been booking ever since. And she gets a lot of long stays as well. So it just depends. So we have people that in her home, she came to our seminar, she moved in with her fiance and had a house that was just sitting vacant for a whole year, fully furnished, and just didn't know what to do with it. We knew exactly what to do with it. So we came in, got her started, and now she's making income. She's not only making the mortgage, she got to keep her house. She's making the mortgage in 1 week, and the rest of it's going into her pocket. So everyone's starting from somewhere different. So once we have the consultation with you, we'll find out, what your best options are, and we'll go from there. But yes, we do have options to make sure you're not tying up all of your money.
I love it. So you guys are now reconvincing me to reconsider with Rodney on the Airbnb.
But one thing I want to go back to, because I know it might have flew over a few heads, the ambassador aspect. What exactly is an ambassador with Airbnb? I want to make sure everybody knows that.
So Airbnb reaches out to certain people in the Airbnb community. You have to be a super host. And you also have to be performing at a high level when it comes to numbers, bookings, and all that good stuff. So they reached out to us and they said, look, you guys are killing it. Do you want to be an ambassador for us and go out and bring in new hosts? And here are the qualifications. So we did the paperwork and everything, and we've been killing it and bringing people in ever since. But you do have to maintain a certain amount of hosts that you bring in on a quarterly basis. So,
but, the other thing I think that I learned from the seminar with you guys is that when you mentor someone, when they start at Airbnb, if you can explain, because I may not articulate this correctly, their Airbnb shoots to the top, their ratings.
So they
are a 5.
So if we co-host, so let's say we co-host with them. When they first start, we can see everything that they're doing. So we can answer questions, we can do all of that stuff. We can co-host with them. And that way they end up being attached to a superhost. You see what I'm saying? So he can answer your messages, he can help you make changes to your listing, everything, because you have them listed as a co-host. But then you're also attached to a superhost as well. Whereas when you start out and you don't, have any skin in the game, you're fighting your way up, like you're fighting your way out. So there are some perks to being attached to someone that's already doing it.
Yeah, and I noticed that about Airbnb because I was looking for an Airbnb last minute for spring break.
You too?
And playing to fail, so clearly we were playing to fail during spring break because we got but when I was looking on Airbnb, I mean, hands down, they always put the superhost to the top.
right.
So having your mentorship obviously is a huge advantage because it helps create the revenue that's initially wanted when you start your Airbnb.
Right.
Yeah, and we're not, and once you come into the membership, we're not going to throw you away after you get your first booking, right? That's always the fear. Someone gets you started and then they just disappear. We don't do that. We will hold your hand until you tell us, hey, I got it. And then we're still going to peek to make sure you really got it, right? So she said, hey, we got it. You don't have to help us anymore. And then she had a booking on Saturday, and she reached out Saturday morning and was like, yeah, they canceled, but we got $300. And we were like, you got $300? Wait, what do you mean? And she was like, yeah, they canceled and we got $300. And I said, no, that means that you have your cancellation set wrong because you were supposed to get everything that was promised to you if they canceled that day, because what's the chances of you booking the same day? True. So she thought she had it and, didn't allow us to help her with that part of the process. She lost money that weekend. She's not losing anymore, but she lost money that weekend, right? So there's just so many.
That's another thing that impressed me about you guys when I attended the seminar, in that because you've done such an awesome job with the experience and the marketing of it, when people book you, like in your guidelines, it's if you cancel in less than this period, full payment is required. And you guys have had situations where people cancel, yet you still get paid the full amount because it's not likely that somebody else would have replaced that spot anyway. It's possible, but not probable. But yeah, like I think that the guidance that you guys provide is invaluable. But you do, and I just have to emphasize this, you got to be willing to put the work in.
I was telling someone on the way home today, she and her fiance are looking to do this as well. And I said, in business, people are always saying, put me on. Can you put me on? And it's like, this is one thing that we can't put you onto. It's not like we have an open position at work and I'm going to turn your resume in. Like, it's not that type of thing. You actually have to put the work in. And if you're willing to put the work in, we are willing to be there to coach and make sure that you're successful and that you get it. And that you, overall, our goal is to leave an inheritance to our kids. It's all about, the legacy that we leave behind. And that's our goal. We're trying to do it for ourselves, and we're also wanting to do that for our kids, so they don't have to fight.
And your kids, and their kids.
Exactly, which is why, we're so in love with Brown Investors. So what we're doing is we are building our nest egg, and we are trusting you guys with that nest egg, so that we can scale at a higher level. I mean, everything that we do, we want to scale a whole lot faster, and that is one of the great things about Brown Investors. I watch you guys. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It does take patience, but with anything, you have to be patient. And if you don't have patience, you don't want to get out here and try anything on your own. But we're so excited to get our nest egg up and turn it over to you guys. I cannot wait.
Appreciate the Google review that you gave too.
Yeah.
Because as a small company, you know, it takes time to build and like truly like scale and skyrocket, especially in the first couple years. But yeah, we are making a lot of progress, just like the two of you have made significant progress with Airbnb. But
yeah, definitely. And like it's so many things that you all say that just register in my mind that I always like to step back for a second, make sure everybody catches it. Because by the fact that what you all have told us that everybody has a way to enter this field, and that you all are willing to assist them with wherever they are in retrospect to that journey. I mean, even with individuals who might not have the capital, you have a way to help them and to assist them in gaining the capital. But also, so many individuals are selling their homes right now because someone offers them $50,000 above market value, and you all have more than surpassed that $50,000 that you all would receive. And how many folks think about, okay, I'm going to leave my home, and then I'm going to rent my home out as opposed to selling it. So this can help so many people who are having issues paying their mortgage. Okay, they can Airbnb their home, and they can more than pay for their mortgage, buy another home, and still live, and then buy another home and still live, and it's just still live a good life. Or whether it's just renting a home and Airbnb the home that they're renting. You all presented so many options for people just to build wealth. And that's really what it's all about, building their generational wealth. And it's all about the diversity. And this is just another great means to fulfilling their goal.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let you and Rodney close it out because I tend to sometimes talk.
Well, do we have any other questions?
Too much.
That might have popped up the scroll. I want to make sure we answer.
Yeah, they did say Covington.
Because I think it's going to roll and make sure. I think people are so amazed. Sometimes when you look at Atlanta, you think Atlanta is overpopulated from the Airbnb standpoint, and that scares a lot of people. But you all are still opening up numerous properties and doing well. So I mean, that shows people it's still a means to an end, as long as you have the knowledge, and you two definitely have the knowledge to help people speed along that learning curve and to eliminate or reduce the possibility of pitfalls along their journey. Just like you all said, pitfalls will many times push people out of the Airbnb industry, but you all mentioned not just Airbnb, you mentioned other ways to rent your home out. It just doesn't have to be the Airbnb platform, which that's all we know, because Airbnb does such a tremendous job marketing their platform. We think Airbnb, nothing else. But when you mentioned the home of the woods, that you had that book for, was it 12 months?
It's 10 months.
10 months.
You're right, and they were our first guests. They lost their home to a house fire on Thanksgiving. And when I saw the insurance guy there, you know, I deal with insurance guys or girls all the time, and I said, you know what, Lucinda? I said, we can get that insurance company to pay for them to stay in our house instead of putting them in the hotel. The hotel was running him the same thing, $200 a night for 2 hotels. And when I went to him, his eyes like lit up. He was like, I've been looking for people like y'all. Like, I'm going to give your number to all of my colleagues. Like, any home you guys have that you start, let us know, because, you know, I'm going to need people like you. But let me give you some more numbers also before we close out. 40% of the people that are buying houses are living in hotels because they have sold their house at such a high value. But what they failed to realize was that the same way they sold their house at a high amount, it costs even more to buy a house. So they sold the house for $300,000, and they think they're going to find a house for $300,000 for what they want, but that house is $500,000. We have a client at our Cambridge location that we started last month who have been in our 1-bedroom Bohemian Airbnb for over 30 days.
Wow.
Over 30 days. And she just asked me yesterday to block off the whole month of April and May because she's going to be there. So our 1-bedrooms are generating about 4K gross. Our 3-bedrooms are generating about 6K gross. 5 or better, anywhere between $8,000 or $10,000 a month gross. So we believe in
I love it. I love it.
Numbers, doing the research, and we take that same information and we share it with our team.
I also love, and we're going to wrap this up because I know we don't want to go past an hour, but I also love how I believe one of the fundamentals that you guys have followed is knowing how to scale a business. So sometimes when people get money, they try to start like balling out. And while the two of you have a very nice lifestyle, kids are in great schools, you pay for private school, you guys didn't start raking in all the money and start balling out. You guys started looking at the whole picture and started reinvesting where you felt it was necessary.
Right.
And so it kind of makes me always put my stock market investing hat back on, which is when we look at the management teams of companies that are new in the game, that are IPOing, like an Airbnb, what are they doing with this additional revenue? Are they reinvesting it in parts of the business that will help it get to an Amazon or an Apple or a Microsoft? And if they're following these strategic steps, that could potentially be a really, really great investment down the road. And so I know people had questions. For those of you who didn't get your questions answered, the email that was put in the comments is again, ludomproperties@gmail.com. That's LUDOM properties@gmail.com. Have other questions or regarding stock market investing or how to invest with Airbnbs or IPOs, just go to email@browninvestors, or admin@browninvestors.com.
True.
That's right.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I'm like, it's been a long day.
It has.
No, but yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate you all for this time, everybody for joining us. I mean, I've learned a lot. I'm sure that everybody else has learned a lot just from, like I said, it's all about the diversifying your means of acquiring or generating long-term wealth, generational wealth, and just the gems that you all dropped have just been greatly beneficial. I mean, you all have shared just on this call, and you all still have more knowledge that you all can share with people just joining you all's program. I mean, it's honestly a blessing. Happy to have you all, and it just gives everybody just another means to get to that goal of being financially free. And you all are definitely vastly along that path. And still, when you say 20 or 7, the goal is to get 20. I mean, the normal person thinks that's astronomical. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you telling about a story of someone who had even more than that in a short period of time. Right. So let me know that it can be done. It's just possible. Putting in the work and making sure that you surround yourselves with people who have obtained those goals, who are walking ahead of you, so that you can follow along their paths and hopefully stay within place your steps within their steps instead of falling off the path and finding yourselves in the thorns and deciding to quit. And you all are definitely setting that road, setting that path before people. So I'm definitely thank you both for your time. I'm gonna definitely reach out, and I'm sure that you'll be getting a lot of different emails. Hope you look at my email first.
Yeah, and so we'll send this out to our email audience too. It has thousands of people, because I think that the information that you have is extremely valuable. I mean, just things that you didn't even talk about, like the 7-figure plus Airbnb insurance policy that Airbnb covers that I didn't know about. If anything were to happen to like a portion of the home that's being Airbnb. So like, that's huge. Like, you guys have some priceless knowledge to provide. And so I'll let the two of you close it out before we say farewell. If there was 1 or 2 more things you wanted people to know, have at it.
So real quick before we close it out, first of all, thank you guys for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. Something Kim mentioned about investing the money that you make. And I'm gonna give you a golden nugget real quick, not too much, but I take one house and I take the profit from that one house, and that is how I'm able to do number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or 7. So if I can make $8,000 on my one home, I take that $8,000 and pay all the bills for every home.
Oh, so, yeah, Lucinda, she she bragged about that. She was like, "Girl, one house. If I don't get any more bookings, even though I know all the other properties had bookings, I'm just like, oh, I'm so jealous. But you guys got that hustle.
Right.
And I'm trying to get that hustle back.
Yeah, and Dominic, I want to make sure that people didn't miss that, because I mean, when people think about you all scaling, some people might think that you all are scaling so fast, but you're scaling fast, but you have a plan, you have the financial foundation in place so that you don't fall off track. So you can tell me one more time of how you have one house, and you make sure that you always have a house that's covering all the additional houses before you move on to the next property. So you have that safety net.
That's a good point.
So for those who are crazy like Lucinda and I, who want to go out and multiple houses, I don't recommend it. But your first home should be your golden home. It should be the one that's going to generate that money like every month. It's going to stay full, green across the board on the calendar. If that house can generate $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000, you can take the profits from that house and you can get house number 2, house number 3, even pay the mortgage or the rent or the lease on property number 2, 3, 4, and 5. And whatever property number 2, 3, 4, and 5 makes, guess what? That's 100% profit, because you use one house to pay all the bills. Right. So that's the way I look at it. Everything, I have to have a goal. I have a plan. I have an insurance policy just in case it gets slow. January and February, we learned, just in our first year, that the end of January and February are slow months. Even at the hotels, it's slow. So we made sure that we put back from December and November all the way back to April to cover ourselves in those months. All right. So there's so many things that we have learned so that the next person don't make the mistakes. We have created a rule book that you can't fail. We're going to minimize your risk of failing with Airbnb. And to add to what Kim said, every time there's a guest that comes to our home, Airbnb gives us $1 million liability policy. So you know what? At night, I used to just be waking up every 10 minutes thinking, oh man, I hope they don't burn my house down. You know what? Burn it down. I have $1 million, dude. I'm good. I have a policy to cover me for whatever you do. If you got a pet in the place and the pet messes up my place, they have a new pet insurance policy that will cover the entire home. So there are so many things that we have learned and we are willing to share with our new team.
All right, so ludomproperties@gmail.com or admin@browninvestors.com. We appreciate all of you for joining. Lucinda and Dominic, thank you so much for your time,
thank you,
knowledge, your partnership, and Rodney, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. After she gave all the thanks, she passed it to me. But definitely thank you both. It's been a vast amount of knowledge, and like I said, and that's probably only just an ounce of what you all have left to provide, because I know there's so much more. But again, we only have an hour to drop several gems, which I'm virtually positive many people had no idea of just how much they can generate, and how that you all are able to put a safety net there just to catch them along this Airbnb journey.